Hey guys, my name is Alia, and today I'm going to talk about drone laws in Illinois, USA for the course LMCR1562. So, what are drones? An unmanned aerial vehicle is commonly known as a drone. It is an aircraft without any human pilot, crew, or passengers on board. UAVs are a component of an unmanned aircraft system, which includes additionally a ground-based controller and a system of communications with the UAV. Now, what is a UAV? UAV stands for Unmanned Aerial Vehicle, an aircraft piloted by remote control or onboard computers, which means you don't need anyone on board. You can just control it with a remote control from afar. Alright, there are three types of drone laws in Illinois: federal laws, state laws, and local laws. Rule number 1 of federal laws is to fly a drone as a commercial pilot, such as for work or business purposes. You are required to follow the requirements of the FAA's Part 107 Small UAS Rule Part 107, which includes passing the FAA, which stands for Federal Aviation Administration Aeronautical Knowledge Test, to obtain a remote pilot certificate. Rule number 2 of federal laws is to fly a drone as a hobbyist, such as for fun or for pleasure, for leisure. You are required by the FAA to take the Recreational UAS Safety Test, TRUST for short. You are also required to follow the FAA's Recreational Model Aircraft rules. One of those rules is that if your drone weighs more than 0.55 lbs, which is 250 grams, you'll need to pay $5 to get it registered. There are additional rules when it comes to airspace and altitude, keeping your drone within the line of sight while you're flying, and more. And lastly, rule number 3 of federal laws is to fly a drone as a government employee, for example, police or fire department. You may either operate under the FAA's Part 107 rule or obtain a Federal Certificate of Authorization, COA, meaning whatever you do, you have to get a certificate in order to fly a drone in Illinois. Up next, the state drone laws in Illinois. State drone laws number 1 states an act concerning criminal law. If a law enforcement agency first obtains a search warrant based on probable cause issued under Section 108(3) of the Code of Criminal Procedure of 1963, the warrant must be limited to a period of 45 days, renewable by the judge upon a showing of good cause for subsequent periods of 45 days. If a law enforcement agency possesses reasonable suspicion that, under particular circumstances, swift action is needed to prevent imminent harm to life or to forestall the imminent escape of a suspect or the destruction of evidence. Meaning, this law loosens regulations around law enforcement's use of UAS during a disaster or public health emergency and creates regulations for how law enforcement can obtain and use information gathered from a private party's use of drones. This law also requires law enforcement to follow warrant protocols to compel third parties to share information, and if the information is voluntarily given to the police, authorities are required to follow the state's law governing drone data retention and disclosure. State drone laws number 2 states an act concerning hunters and fishermen. Replaces everything after the enacting clause. Amends the Criminal Code of 2012 concerning hunter or fisherman interference. Provides that it is a cause of misdemeanor to use a drone in a way that interferes with another person's lawful taking of wildlife or aquatic life. Provides that a court may enjoin the activity causing the interference and award all resulting costs and damage, including punitive damages to any person adversely affected by the conduct. So this law prohibits anyone from using a drone to interfere with hunters or fishermen. State Drone Laws Number 3 states an act concerning drone surveillance. Senate Floor Amendment Number 2 states that the act does not prohibit the use of a drone by a law enforcement agency if the law enforcement agency is using a drone solely for crime scene and traffic crash scenes photography. Provides that crime scene and traffic crash photography must be conducted in a geographically confined and time-limited manner to document specific occurrences. Provides that the use of a drone under this provision on private property requires either a search warrant based on a probable cause or lawful consent to search. Provides that any law enforcement agency operating a drone under this provision shall make every reasonable attempt to only photograph the crime scene or traffic crash scene and avoid other areas. Meaning, this law allows drones to be used by law enforcement with a warrant to counter a terrorist attack, to prevent harm to life, or to prevent the imminent escape of a suspect. If a law enforcement agency uses a drone, the agency must destroy all information gathered by the drone within 30 days. But a supervisor at the law enforcement agency may retain particular information if there is a reasonable suspicion that it contains evidence of criminal activity. Lastly, State Drone Laws Number 4 states an act concerning unmanned aircraft systems. AMAN's the Illinois Aeronautics Act defines unmanned aircraft systems, provides that the regulation of unmanned aircraft systems is an exclusive power and function of the state, denies home rule powers effective immediately. Senate Committee Amendment Number 2 states that replaces everything after the enacting clause with the provisions of the introduced bill and makes the following changes. Defines unmanned aircraft, replaces the definition of unmanned aircraft system, provides that state-level oversight may not conflict with federal laws, rules, or regulations, and exempts from the new provisions any local ordinance enacted by a municipality of more than 1 million inhabitants, effective immediately. This law states that the state of Illinois has the sole authority to pass drone laws. Cities, towns, and other municipalities may not enact regulations or restrictions on the usage of drones. A special exemption is granted for municipalities with over 1 million residents.
First, you must register your drone before flight to the FAA Drone Zone website. I'll link it below. You must fly within visual sight. Your drone must be under 55 pounds. Now that is very, very heavy. Most consumer drones are like between 1 and 3 pounds. You must never fly near another aircraft. If you're flying within 5 miles of any airport, you must notify the control tower. And lastly, you must never fly near emergency response efforts. Now for the commercial flyers. You must hold a remote pilot's license issued by the FAA. You must register your drone with the FAA Drone Zone website. Again, I'll link it below. Your drone must be under 55 pounds. You must fly in Class G airspace. You must fly below 400 feet. You must fly during the day or at civil twilight, which is 30 minutes after sunset. You must fly under 100 miles per hour. What drone goes 100 miles per hour? I barely drive at 100 miles per hour. You must yield the right of way to any manned aircraft. Can't fly over people. And lastly, you cannot fly from a moving vehicle unless you're in a lightly populated area, which I'm guessing is like farmland. Now these 8 things, you can actually get a waiver from the FAA to avoid them, but you must go through the legal process. Now that we've got the federal laws out of the way, which are countrywide, remember, you always have to abide by these rules. Here are the state and local laws. In Illinois, it is illegal to operate your drone in a manner that interferes with hunters and fishermen. That is the only statewide drone law you need to follow. Now for the city laws. In the village of Schaumburg, it is illegal to use your drone within 100 feet of the village property or any village event. Now,
These are some of my opinions of the improvements that Malaysia has to make on their laws of drones. In order to own a drone, citizens must obtain a drone license first. meaning they have to own a drone license to legally own a drone. I think it is preferable for each drone owners to have their own clear surrounding. And in my opinion too, I think they should increase the minimum weight up to 30 kilograms at least, depending on the situation, because in my opinion, 20 kilograms is too light. I also think it's a good idea to minimize the cost for drones that weigh over 20 kilograms, because I think 1,000 ringgit is just too much, considering that we are not as top as other countries. And that's all, folks. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed.